Hey Reddit.
Redditors who work at remote places like forest offices, oil rig workers, etc. What creepy things have you noticed while at work?
We need your help to grow. Like and subscribe for more daily content.
I used to work in the Gulf of Mexico on oil rigs for years. And it may not exactly be creepy, but I found it really unsettling. In deep, open water, the water itself is really clear. So everyone can plainly see all the tuna and barracudas hanging around the rig waiting for the onboard cook to throw off whatever food waste he needs to. Every once in a while a huge great white shark would swim up from underneath and snatch a tuna, and it really took like less than a second. They're really scary.
I worked for a guy that spearfished underneath the rigs out in the Gulf. He said it was perfect since there were tons of fish underneath. And the sharks would never go between the legs. Just wait for a fish to leave. Plus the view was amazing. Looking down and seeing nothing but abyss. He loved it. I can only imagine how scared I would be.
Deleted.
The goats who stare at men.
I now hate goats.
I've worked in Canada's north for a few years now in oil and gas. It's pretty creepy when during night shift you realize a moose has just been standing at the tree line staring you down for an unknown length of time. Or finding bear tracks crossing the tracks you just made 5 minutes ago. Honestly, the silence of a snowy forest in the dead of night, hundreds of km away from anything, is pretty spooky. When your only contact to the outside world is a radio channel nobody's listening to, you feel pretty alone.
Might as well be in space.
Moose are freaky, man. Especially the screams. Those things mess you up.
I used to be a delivery driver. Which doesn't sound very remote because it isn't. However, I did have to deliver to some pretty remote places. One time I delivered to a trailer park just barely inside our designated delivery zone, and it was very dark and poorly lit. I leave my car running and keep the headlights and inside lights on to go deliver the pizza. Upon returning to my car, I sit down in the driver's seat and look up to see a creepy old man standing less than 3 feet from my side of the car. He was just staring. It was the equivalent of a jump scare. I just started driving forward. Had to do a U-turn to get out of the park. When I turned around, the man was standing in the middle of the road. So I freaked out for a second before speeding around him, only to watch him attempt to chase my car out of the trailer park. I put in my 2 weeks after that.
Damn creepy as hell. Did you tell your coworkers about it?
I was on a boat sitting on anchor in a secluded bay in the early hours. In southeast Alaska a few years ago. I stepped outside for a smoke, and all of a sudden I heard the most horrific sounds of a wild animal being murdered by another wild animal. It went on for probably 10 minutes. I know it's just nature, but man, I can still hear that sound in my brain and it haunts me. You guys, this is my highest voted comment of all time, beating out my post of a boiled yam in our shitty food porn.
There's a reason why nature documentaries usually play music instead of the recorded sound during hunting scenes.
Any idea what animal was eating what? That is really scary.
I used to do agricultural work. Alone in a field for 10 hours a day kinda thing. The pure amount of times I heard the sound of running and snapped up to see literally nothing there was horrific. I was convinced it was surely animals between the trees for a while, but the weirdest moment was when I heard it loudly from a row of trees next to me and immediately ducked under to see the feet of whatever animal was running by, and there was absolutely nothing. I remember trying to stay calm and walking really fast to the toilet block and sitting in there for a good long while before I came back. I never thought I'd be so freaked out in the daytime, but there wasn't a soul nearby for quite a way, and it really amped up my imagination.
As a prior deer hunter, I can tell you that the thundering noises from a squirrel can sound like a herd of elephants went out in the woods while all is still and quiet.
I was a field geologist in the outback about 12 hours north of Adelaide. One day I was driving the truck and saw what looked like a flagpole sticking up in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't anywhere near a farm or anywhere else that people would be. So I decided to drive over and check it out. It was a dead dog fully impaled on a spike. Like, from butt to mouth. Took some pictures and had my boss call the cops. but for the rest of the assignment I was freaked out that some maniac was out there with me.
Was this out near Cuba PD? Fucking weirdos up there, I tell ya. I went on a fossicking road trip, and on my way up, there was a guy rolling around on the road in 46-degree heat. Just casually rolling on the road.
I do a lot of work out in the woods. Creepiest thing was finding some headless doves. I also found sticks arranged in circles and paint on the trees in the same spot. Not sure if it was part of a ritual or not, but that's what I saw.
I've found altars, painted trees, pentagrams laid out in the dirt, pentagrams made from string between trees. I don't care if you want to pray to Beelzebub or whatever the frick shiz you got going on. Just don't litter and destroy wildlife.
I was on guard duty at Camp Phoenix on the outskirts of Kabul in 2011. It's a 12-hour shift and it started at 7 p.m. Around 2 a.m., I could hear what sounded like footsteps running all around the guard tower. Promptly set my ass hairs on end, so I pull out my night vision and pray that it's some kids or something. I shiz you not, there must have been 2 or 3 pairs of dogs humping each other at the same time.
You had me in the first half. Not gonna lie.
There's nothing better than the eerie suspense you get from reading threads like these. Only to come across a story like this. Something about anticipating creepy and getting dogs humping makes me laugh so hard I almost vomit.
I've been fishing out in the Gulf of Mexico where they have some oil rigs. This rig wasn't being used from what we knew, so we would get pretty close to it to fish for red snapper. While we were out there, we could have sworn we heard screams of a woman over and over. It was some shiz, but the explanation was the wind making the noises as it blew through the rig. Well, that's what we were told, but it totally creeped us the frick out.
Rigs can make pretty scary noises. I had some shifts on a satellite platform and the wind would make scary noises at night.
I'm not sure if this counts because it's a farm, but when you live on a farm you work on a farm, so I guess I'll tell it. I grew up on a farm and in high school used to mess with my friends by hiding and making them find me. One night my friend was over and we were waiting on this other guy. We see him pull up, so we take off running to hide. It's funny because they have to wander around somewhere they're unfamiliar with or go ask my parents and be told, too bad, you'll have to find her. It's like forced hide and seek. Anyway, this one night I saw my friend hide in one building while I ran for the trees. I was hiding under some bushes and heard breathing. Like human breathing. There were no animals around. It creeped me out so bad I ran out of hiding to greet my friend. I felt so uncomfortable for the rest of the night. Sometime during the night my dad heard something and went out to investigate. In the morning he discovered that one of our cows was killed and butchered.
Butchered as in people meticulously separated the meat out. Or like something just started eating the cow.
That's scarier if it was actually a human and not some wild animal. Man, I'd sleep with a gun ready if that happened to me.
In my brief stint as a rural health nurse, I was quite unnerved by how many of the families I worked with still practiced ritual animal sacrifice. Even though on paper they identify as Catholic.
Where was this?